one bye this weekend, looking to make a climb back to the Players' Championship.
So with Infect, there's a variety of ways that the deck plays from matchup to matchup. There's some matchups where are all about speed, and the opposing deck has very little blocking, and then Glistener Elf is one of your better threats because it's so fast. This is not that kind of matchup. Jeff can block pretty easily. What Luke is really looking for, Nexus is fine, though Jeff has some flying blockers, but Blighted Agent is Luke's premier threat. Jeff does not have a lot of removal on the list, just 4 copies of Path to Exile. He's trying to defend himself by blocking, and so Blighted Agent is really what he wants.
Jeff will start for the Birds of Paradise. Luke, you saw on turn number 1, play Breeding Pool untap. That's why he's at 18 to cast the Serum Visions. Kept both cards on top with the Scry. Here's a Wooded Foothills. He'll play a Noble Hierarch. Now he'll pass the turn back over to Hoogland. Jeff will take a draw step here. Voice of Resurgence is what he's found. A lot going on with this Kiki Core deck. Kind of a crazy mana base, but you've got a lot of fetch lands. You've got some mana fixing here in Birds of Paradise, Noble Hierarch. So a lot that Jeff can do to kind of work his way towards those work his way through those mana issues.
And you see on Bishop's side of the table here, he's taking a slightly slower pace here. He could have just tapped out for Blighted Agent last turn, wants to leave Apostle's Blessing, and you see now he has Blighted Agent set up alongside Apostle's Blessing. And this is why I was mentioning why Blighted Agent is so important for Bishop. Hoogland can really gum up the works here. Yep. Even Nexus may not be good here because Jeff has cards like Birds of Paradise to chump block at critical spots. So Blighted Agent here is going to be very good for Bishop, especially backed up by Apostle's Blessing. It's going to be very hard for Jeff to remove this from the table.
Jeff searching up a Sacred Foundry with his Windswept Heath to be able to play a Voice of Resurgence. Bishop will take a moment and get a Breeding Pool out of his deck. See the life totals here, 18 to 17. Excuse me, 17 all now. There's a Windswept Heath. Bishop will sacrifice that, going to go down to at least 16. And it looks like he is setting up a Blighted Agent turn here with protection.
Yeah, he has protection in multiple ways here. He can just leave up Apostle's Blessing. He can also tap out for Spellskite.
Two mana, going to use the Hierarch. Here is Spellskite. And now here's Blighted Agent.
And I believe Bishop's leftovers include Groundswell and Become Immense. So this could be over next turn.
Yeah. Apostle's Blessing as well. I think that's exactly the grip.
Yeah.
Here comes Voice of Resurgence. Bishop, it looks as though he's more than happy to take 2. He'll go down to 14. I know I wouldn't be blocking. There's a Windswept Heath. Now here's a copy of Pia and Kieran Nalaar.
I suspect this will be Jeff's last turn.
I have a feeling you're correct.
You have shown up to the wrong party, the two of you.
Yeah, indeed. The draw here is a copy of Serum Visions for Bishop. Serum Visions will be cast. Draw a card. It's a copy of Might of Old Croja.
And if Bishop is planning on killing via Become Immense, then Serum Vision's effectively free to cast this turn. He gets the mana back on the Delve.
Here's Might of Old Croja, since it's being played in the main phase. +4/+4, now Become Immense, and this one is all over. Luke Bishop will win game number 1 here over Jeff Hoogland. In fact, very quickly up a game over Kiki Cord.
Although we are now back-to-back on matches where a Magic Origins card has shown up. Jace of Ridden's Prodigy for Adrian, and Pia and Kieran Nalaar, unexpected from Jeff Hoogland here in round 2.
Well, Magic Origins just have an impact everywhere, so not too surprising to see it really have an impact.
Hangerback Walker also in DeMars's deck.
Absolutely.
Not that surprising, playing Affinity.
To the sideboards we're going to go. Well, it's always fun to start with Jeff because you never know what you'll find in those 15.
He's a little late for this matchup. He's got some stuff though. An Obstinate Baloth, an Auriok Champion, 2 copies of Worship, 3 copies of Stony Silence, Fulminator Mage, Solid Pride Mage, Celestial Purge, Engineered Explosive X2, 2 Sin Collectors, and an Eidolon of Rhetoric. I think the 2 copies of Sin Collector and the 2 copies of Engineered Explosives are reasonable to bring in this matchup. Sin Collector is not the best. It's not super fast, but I think that he needs just more interaction and he can attack Bishop's hand, especially getting some of the marquee home spells like Become Immense out ahead of schedule. I think things like the Fulminator Mage and the Kasali Pride Mage, though a little bit on the slow side, I think he just needs, again, more interaction. And I don't think the 1 copy of Eidolon of Rhetoric is horrible for this matchup. Usually when Bishop's doing something, he's chaining together multiple spells in the same turn. It's not ideal for this matchup, but I think Hoogland, again, is really struggling to find reasonable interaction, and he has a lot of cards he can cut here.
On the other side of things here for Bishop, he's got 4 copies of Geist of Saint Traft, a Temple Garden to help cast him, along with 2 Path to Exile, 2 Dispel, 2 Twisted Image, 3 Nature's Claims, and a Spellskite.
Love the Twisted Image for this matchup. You've seen copies of Wall of Roots and Birds of Paradise out of Hoogland's deck already. Reasonable that his deck could have Spellskite as well. I think the 2 copies of Path to Exile will likely come in for the same reason, and that should probably do it. Bishop could bring in Dispels, anticipating Path to Exile and some mixture of Chord of Calling and Collected Company. That feels a little narrow to me, but if you brought in the counter spells, I wouldn't be shocked.
Some good options here for both players, so we'll see how they do opt to sideboard. In the meantime, we will talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news, and best of all, it's free to sign up for.
Yeah, all the best content from Star City Games, cultivated by Cedric Phillips. You get all the information about the goings-on the Open Series, including a match of the week, exclusive deck lists and advice from some of the premium columnists, and an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, sign up is free over at starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Jeff Hoogland, a player that we saw at the Players' Championship last year, always brewing, always getting ready, and most of all, and we know about Jeff, he loves Modern.
It's true. He was getting a little disheartened with Legacy back when we were on the 2-day Open Series schedule. Started focusing a lot more Modern in the IQs. Has definitely been rewarded with that. Had a top 8 earlier this year in Baltimore, our first Modern Open Series event, and has been putting up steady results over the last 2 years.
The 24-year-old from Bloomington, Illinois, does have an invitational top 8 last year during Season 3. Actually, last year, excuse me. 10 Open Series top 8s. Stay-at-home dad with 2 awesome sons who will be future Magic players, he says. A master's degree in mathematics and loves to do some coding. Also loves to brew. One of the fun players to feature on the Open Series. And you see he's got a brew here. Now, oddly enough, we mentioned the Warship in his main deck and additional copies in his sideboard. Brought those for the wrong matchup.
Yes, not going to be good here.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly how Worship works, will not stop poison damage.
That is correct. Luke Bishop coming from another angle. Though, I wouldn't be surprised if Worship is actually really good. Worship is this weird card where if it's not on your radar, you'll lose to it. If it's on your radar, it's very easy to beat.
Yes.
But if you've forgotten that Worship exists, or Fortune Thief, or that type of effect, it's actually really good.
Yeah, there's plenty of cards hanging out there in Modern. Like Worship. Ensnaring Bridge is another one where you don't see it a lot. Very few decks play it, but certain decks are not going to be able to beat it, and if it's not on your radar, games can be stolen from you that you otherwise had locked up.
Looks like Bishop is going to take a mulligan while Hoogland will sit steady with his 7 cards.
This card's definitely powerful against burn decks, for example, because there's no way to fight all the creatures that Jeff brings to the table. He has some threats like Pia and Kira Noir, or even Wall of Roots that basically can't be killed by burn. You can't kill everything that enters the table. Your plan for these matchups is just to contain the board for as long as you can, stop the player from being able to go off and burn them out, and Worship just cuts that off.
I wish we had a troll Sedek in Jeff's deck. Really go old school there.
A Thrun?
Oh, sure.
You can't even counter that.
That's
so,
true.
That's in. What are you even supposed to do, if you don't mind me asking?
Luke, well, we know what he's going to do. He's going to take another mulligan here, so he's down to 5. See if he can find a 5-card hand that he's happy with.
Jeff's also got, for example, he's got Auriok Champion in his sideboard, very powerful combo with Worship.
Very true. It's going to be hard for a red deck to beat that.
For certain matchups.
Yep. 5 cards here for Luke Bishop. Currently up a game with his Infect deck. That hand's going to be good enough. Stomping Ground is where Jeff will start. A Breeding Pool here from Bishop will bring him down to 18. Now here's a Glistener Elf.
Not the ideal threat for this matchup.
Yeah, this is a Blighted Agent matchup to be sure. And soon enough, you will find out why. Hoogland's got plenty of blockers, like a Spellskite. Bossel's Blessing the draw. Here comes the Elf. Spellskite will block. It'll get an Infect counter. A long way to go to knock that thing down. Another Glistener Elf. And I think Bishop, without another land, he'll just have to pass the turn back. Hoogland will draw a copy of Windswept Heath. That'll be his land for the turn. The follow-up here is a Wall of Roots. And you can see his hand, Kiki Jiki and Chord of Calling. So he'll pass the turn back. Mana certainly stretched in this deck, but Chord of Calling is generally free here. Or at least free-ish.
He's certainly got time.
Yeah. Spell's got to block 1. Looks like an Infect damage will head over to Jeff. Yeah, time is something that he has plenty of. He'll sacrifice that Windswept Heath. Time to get a land out of the deck. Again, he's got to figure out which land to get. The balance is key, but he'll get himself a stomping ground. Getting red and green mana because of Cord and Kiki in hand. Looks like the stomping ground may be entering the battlefield untapped as we head back. Oh, we are heading back Jeff's way, excuse me.
Just cracking it in.
Yep. Sacred Foundry will enter the battlefield untapped, so Jeff will have to take 2. And now here's Kiki Jiki.
And this is a really, really good setup here for Jeff, because now Spellskite is essentially unkillable.
Yep.
Anytime, if Bishop were to have something like Path's Exile, Nature's Claim, Twisted Image, something to get it off the table, Jeff can simply make a copy of it with Kiki Jiki, move the target over there, keep Spellskite in play. Very hard for, in fact, to play through Spellskite because it is predicated on targeting a creature with a bunch of spells to win the game.
On the end step, after you clear end of turn triggers, Jeff is going to make a copy of Wall of Roots, which means that he gets to use it through this turn. I think we might see a combo kill here in just a second. It is a little bit of a confusing interaction if you've never seen it before, but you're able to clear things off of the stack, then make something with Kiki Jiki. It'll last until the end of his next turn. So the end of Jeff's turn here is when it'll leave.
And if Jeff didn't have any immediate need for the mana, if he's not going for a kill this turn, I think that I would have preferred for him to leave the Kiki Jiki up just to protect the Spellskite.
Sure.
If he's going for something this turn and needs the mana from Wall of Roots, that's a very different case, and then go ahead and do it. But Kiki Jiki plus Spellskite is so hard for Bishop to play through that. I would sit on that for as long as I could conceivably do it.
Overgrown Tomb untapped and passing the turn back. It is unclear if Jeff even has the infinite kill here as well. He's going to copy Wall of Omens now to draw another card. Now we have a Cord.
And I think he can Cord for 4 in this spot, get Restoration Angel, and that'll do her.
Restoration Angel, Kiki Jiki, certainly a combo. That'll come in. Restoration Angel will blink the Kiki Jiki. Kiki Jiki will copy Restoration Angel. Do that a bunch. You've got an infinite amount of flying 3/4s. That'll be plenty of damage to get the job done. So Jeff Hoogland will win game number 2 here over Luke Bishop. They're getting ready here for game number 3. Kiki, Cord, and Infectar. Not a great draw from Bishop, obviously. Did mulligan to 5 there. But you have to imagine for him to be able to win the matchup, it's really based around Blighted Agent, not Glistener Elf.
So Bishop is making some interesting sideboarding right now. It appears as though he's going and getting the 4 copies of Geist the Same Trapped out of his board. He may be pulling the Glistener Elves out. Now, I understand that Glistener Elf is tough to get anything going with in this matchup. Jeff blocks very effectively. But I think that Geist of St. Traft produces the same problem. The threat's not very good against a deck like Jeff's unless you're backing it up with a lot of removal or a lot of burn. As a way to sort of redirect what your deck is doing, I don't know if that really works.
I actually think that Geist is actively bad here because it is a more expensive Glistener Elf. And at least Glistener Elf, you have the benefit or the possibility to say, all right, Apostle's blessing this and kill you that way.
Or, you just have it on the play, and Jeff doesn't have a mana creature on, turn 1. You have a Noble Hierarch. That's some damage that you're getting across. You draw 2 copies of Glistener Elf. Well, if Jeff only has 1 blocker available, there's going to be spots where he can handle Glistener Elf very easily, but I still don't think I would cut it here. And I would certainly not be cutting it for Geist of St. Traft, which all the problems that Glistener Elf has also is true of Geist of St. Traft. And it's not backing up Bishop's primary game plan.
Yeah. It looks as though he did bring the Geist in, so we'll see how the game plays out if he does draw it and if maybe he can get some regular damage in with the card. Though I do find it rather unlikely. Though stranger things have happened. And if you do play a turn 2 Geist off a Noble Hierarch, then maybe we got something going.
Yep, that's your, best possible scenario with that card, but it's not like Glistener Elf into Noble Hierarch is a bad draw either.
That's very true. Well, both these players are going to take a look at their opening hands. Luke Bishop will be on the play. See if he wants to keep his hand. Looks like he will. Jeff will take a longer look at his. He's happy. We are underway. A Windswept Heath, the passing of the turn.
Now, I think the argument a reasonable argument for bringing in Geist in this matchup is Hoogland looks like he has the type of deck that could easily have Malira in the sideboard as something to chord for the right matchups. Maybe it's part of some backdoor combo you haven't seen yet. And if you feel like you might be shut off of the Infect route altogether, maybe Geist is saying Trapped is a hedge.
Okay.
I do not believe there are any copies of Malira in Jeff's 75. I'm looking through here, and it does not appear to be the case. But
You can imagine finding anything in there.
right. You wouldn't be shocked if there was one copy in here.
Inkmoth maxes the draw. Here's Blighted Agent. This is the card that's difficult for Jeff to beat. Gonna need Path to Exile, some sort of removal spell. Looks like Razor Verge Thicket in hand, as far as options are concerned.
Engineered explosives as well.
Sure.
It's a slow way to do it.
But it's a way.
Yep. But you see a lot of the cards in hand, Voice of Resurgence, Restoration Angel, Court of Calling. They're slow, and they do not handle Blighted Agent well. So Jeff now has to make a determination. Do I play Engineer Explosives right now with the intent of killing Blighted Agent next turn, or do I try to find some productive things to do in the meantime and set up a fourth turn where I'm playing Explosives and blowing it up in the same turn? I suspect turn 4 on the draw is just too slow, and Jeff needs to deploy the Explosives now.
And there's the Explosives. We're going to head back Luke Bishop's way. Well, he's moving pretty quickly. Don't know if he's got a kill or not, but he'll attack for 1 at least. Might be time to see one of those Geists here. He'll sacrifice the Windswept Heath. I think he might be on the hunt for a Temple Garden. And he is.
See how this guy's played it out. If it was Glistener Elf based on Jeff's hand, Glistener Elf would have done some work here.
Yeah.
Would have hit at least once and forced Jeff to potentially cast Voice of Resurgence last turn instead of Explosives.
Back to Hoogland we go.
Well, Jeff is also on 17. Geist hits pretty hard.
It does. Especially in combination with pump spells. There's Firelit Thicket as the land.
And now, this is another tough call for Jeff. He casts Voice of Resurgence. That's very solid against the Geist that's in play. Bishop may not even attack. But then he's looking at 2 points of infect damage coming across for sure.
Maybe more. There's a Wooded Foothills. See Piracy Charm in hand here for Luke. Also has a copy of Vines of Vastwood and a Groundswell. And trigger an Angel Token on the way. We're gonna go Groundswell. We're going regular damage. I guess we're splitting it all across.
Yep.
So the Voice got in front of the Geist. A pump spell saved the Geist.
And I think my preference there from Bishop with a second Geist in hand would be just to allow the trade to happen.
Sure.
There's an argument he shouldn't have offered it up in the first place because Jeff probably has to blow the explosive next turn and then he gets the Voice of Resurgence to trade anyway. But if he just wants to get in the damage that turn, I think he's still better served just trading and recasting a Geist.
There's a Piracy Charm to take care of the Elemental Token.
Okay, so this is Bishop's angle here.
Sure.
He wants to keep the board totally clear and hope that Geist is good enough to win the game. Much more defensible line when he's following up with a removal spell.
Oh, there's P and Kieran.
I do not believe Jeff can cast that.
Oh, no, Firelit Thicket says he can.
Oh, excuse me. I thought that was a stomping ground.
Yeah, the very powerful filter land. Here come the beatdowns. Gonna double block the Geist. Jeff trying to do whatever he can to get that thing off the battlefield.
And now this is going to be a really good spot for the second Geist.
Yep.
4 more points of damage coming across. You can see the awkwardness, though, of Geist in this strategy, which is it's really pulling away from the Blighted Agent and the whole Infect part of the deck.
Jeff just has to pass the turn back. Bishop will draw. It's time to come to the red zone again. There's a Restoration Angel. Gonna blink Pia and Kieran, which means 2 more Thopter tokens.
Good news for all sorts of reasons, too. If he can get in the next turn with a Thopter in play alongside Pia and Kieran, now all of a sudden he has the Blade Agent managed. The blocking combat's probably going to get Geist off the table regardless, and even if it doesn't, he's got a lot of chump blockers to work with.
Hoogland definitely going to try to play a value game to get himself out of this. Has never had the opportunity to even consider blowing that explosives. Looks like Restoration Angel wants to jump in front of Geist. Now Thopter token in front of the Angel. Blood Agent, of course, is unblockable, so that's not an option. I like these blocks here by Jeff.
Yep.
There's a Vines. So a little more infect damage here for Jeff. Geist has been saved past the turn back. Jeff will draw. Still has Engineered Explosives on 2. But just having some real difficulty getting Geist Sustain trapped off the battlefield.
But he's got it managed. You know, he can block for a very long time. It's a very threatening card, and I'm sure Jeff would love to answer it, but it doesn't feel like it's really required right now. He's managing the game just fine the way things are shaking out.
Of course, you have Crew Fix, top card, Stomping Ground. That'll enter the battlefield untapped, so in total he'll lose 1. And so he'll gain 1. He'll take 2 and then gain 1. Wall of Omens on top of the deck. Bishop will untap and draw. There's a Misty Rainforest. Geist Sustain Trap, the last card in hand. Ichmoth Nexus going to get fired up. Bishop will come across this way. Angel token as well from the Geist.
It's starting to feel like a game where Bishop's going to get him down to 4 and 7 infect.
Yeah.
Just fall a little bit short on both sides.
Looks like the Thopter token is going to jump in front of the Angel as well. Courser in front of Geist. Jeff does have a Court of Calling that he can play for 2 at this point. It's unclear, excuse me, if he wants to cast that or not.
He can always court for Spellskite. If anything crazy happens, that's a safety valve that he has.
Can court for Wall of Omens, draw a card. A couple of different options here, but he won't take any of them. Going to get the Geist off the battlefield. A little bit more poison.
I really like that block from Jeff because he just has the option if anything weird happens of courting for Spellskite, and if nothing happens, he can blow the explosives if he thinks it's appropriate. So there's no way the mana gets wasted.
He's going to court for 1 here. And Bird of Paradise on the way for a little bit of fixing. And acceleration. Hoogland, top card is a Wall of Omen, so he'll draw that for the turn. Next card down is an Eternal Witness. Will he ever have time to get to that? Witness on Restoration Angel, blinking Pia and Kieran. Pretty cute play. Looks like he was considering Wall of Omens that turn, but looking towards something else at this point. He's always going to want to leave that 2 mana available to be able to kill Blighted Agent. Doesn't want to just die from that.
It's all about Hoogland just advancing his board as much as he possibly can while exposing himself to as little risk as possible. It's complicated to figure out these line of plays, but you know, as long as he can leave up the explosives and have a way to kill or block the Nexus, there's only so much bad that can happen. But he doesn't want to be inefficient with his mana.
Yeah. Horizon Canopy is the land. He'll gain a life off of that. Top card of the deck from Courser is Path to Exile. And Jeff has the ability to actually draw that Path to Exile because of the Horizon Canopy and then cast it off the Birds of Paradise if that's a play he ever wants to make.
Yeah. He can just kind of pass the turn right now, let Bishop make his attacks, and respond to basically anything that Bishop can conceivably do.
Yeah. Bishop with a copy of Noble Hierarch in hand. Gonna fire up Inkmoth Nexus. Fire up the other one too. Looks like everybody but the Geist is coming across. And we had a feeling Geist might run into this problem. Just not being able to get him across the finish line.
Yeah. Was not a card I was excited about Bishop bringing in. If you're worried about Glistener Elf because it can be blocked easily, well, the same issues here.
Yeah. Hogan going to try to figure out how to block. He has an opponent here in Luke Bishop with one card left in hand, so it's unclear as to what that top deck is if you're Jeff. We know it's Noble Hierarch. We know it's nothing.
The problem is that a lot of the things he can do, if he courts for, let's say, a Restoration Angel, try to block something, he's liable to get killed by the other one. So he also doesn't want to just be chump blocking it with Birds of Paradise. So I think in some ways Jeff kind of needs to say, okay, no, not going to do anything here or do very little. See how Jeff responds, and then use the end of Bishop's turn to blow the explosives, to court for whatever he thinks is appropriate.
Path Exiles the draw. Fire that off, take care of the other Inkmoth Nexus. This will allow Bishop to search.
And Jeff doing all this still with the ability to court for Spellskite.
Yep. Just in case anything goes wrong. Explosives will get blown. There goes the Blighted Agent. Jeff will lose his Bird's Paradise in the exchange, but that's okay as he does pass the turn back. Does Bishop over to Hoogland. Wall of Omens to draw, Voice of Resurgence on top of the deck. There is Wall of Omens. Voice the draw, Voice on top of the deck yet again. I think Luke Bishop can sense that he's in some serious trouble here.
Well, on the table at least, Hoogland has no way to answer a Nexus. So Luke can still just fire up, attack, and see what happens.
Well, he's going to start by playing Noble Hierarch. Nexus to go active, here's the attack. With an Exalted trigger here, it is a 2-turn clock.
And Jeff can again just say, okay, that's fine. Not really have to do anything. End of turn, he can court for Kasali Pride Mage, assuming that's in his deck.
Sure.
Take care of the Nexus, and untap and go from there.
Well, Blighted Agent might change some things.
So this seems like a spot where Jeff needs to answer these two threats. He has the tool to do it, I believe, between the Court of Calling and the Eternal Witness with a Path to Exile in his graveyard. He can answer the board.
Well, right now he's going to court for, it looks like 3.
He can get Fulminator Mage in this spot if he's brought it in.
He's got Witness as an option too.
I think there's a risk here of Hoogland getting a little too fancy, trying to squeeze out a lot of value.
It feels that way.
Now, if he's got a follow-up threat covered as well, this is all well and good, but I would not take any risks here when Jeff has the ability, one assumes, to be able to answer everything that's going on.
He's going to get Restoration Angel here. Windswept Teeth will be the draw. Plains on top of the deck. Plains low into the battlefield. Jeff will go up to 10. Birds of Paradise on top now. He can play Restoration Angel, Blink, Pia, and Kieran. And if he has a Court of Calling, he can just get Kiki Jiki here. Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yep.
He's able to get the infinite kill. So, you see, he'll count Convoke. He's got plenty of creatures out there on the battlefield. Search up Kiki Jiki, go Infinite Restoration Angel, and it is a combo kill right here for Jeff Hoogland, who does win this match over Luke Bishop 2-1. Kiki Cord does take care of Infect, And you can kind of see, I think, the issue there more than anything. Jeff's deck, very cool. We have a deck tech with him coming, of course, because he's a great brewer and he's off to a great start here. But you kind of see the issue with boarding in Geist of St. Traff there a little bit.
I think there's some issues with Bishop's linear game plan. Hoogland can be very good at blocking there, and you don't know exactly what he can court for. And if he courts for something like Melira, maybe you're locked out of the game or you're drawing very slim. If you had some way to pivot your deck in such a way where you had a different game plan and the card was naturally good against what Jeff was doing, I think that would be fine. But Geist of St. Traff to me is far away from the type of threat that I would want to have against Hoogland's deck, because all the problems that exist with Glistener Elf exist there as well. You see Bishop